But after our conversation yesterday, I was thinking a little bit more about not just about the Bucs and the way they assembled their roster, but I kind of looked at the past 5 Super Bowl winners and was kind of trying to go up and down, see where the different similarities were. And I think the biggest thing that jumped out to me is that it really seems like teams will choose certain positions where they know they can spend money and they should spend money, and they spend money on those positions. And then for other spots, they know that they need to draft certain positions or certain position groups because they know in the long run, having those players at those cheaper prices is ultimately going to really pay off when you're like the Niners were in 2019, when you have Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, all these different players on rookie deals and on all these cheaper contracts. So, as this pertains to the Niners, I think the thing that is jumping out to me is that I think, like the last caller was saying, I think we're spending too much on the defensive line. If you look at it, I think the Niners are spending about 27%. And I'm looking over at what I was going through. No Super Bowl winner has spent higher than 23% in the last 5 years on the front four, and it was the Bucs. Very interesting. The Bucs. Wow.
So the Bucs kind of set the bar, and the Niners are way past it. They're over-invested on their defensive line.
And what's crazy is the only other team above 20% was that 17 Eagles team. So for the most part, teams really don't even spend that much money. I mean, all the other 3 Super Bowl winners are all spending like 11%, 9%, and 12% on the front.
You can get great D-line play without spending like a third of your cap on it. You don't have to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think if you can –
get rid of Armstead. Oh, my God.
He's going to be hard to trade, but I think it would be well
worth it as a loss
in the long run to say, take it as a loss. Do what Bill Belichick would do: attach a pick to him and send him out the door.
Yep. Call up Salah, man. You got cap space. You like this guy. He likes you. Come on, man. Help us out.
Yeah. Well, and also something I've been really thinking about with this offseason in particular is that a lot of teams are going to be cutting players. There's going to be a lot of veterans who are available on those cheaper deals. Yeah. So
JJ Watt's the beginning. Just the beginning. I mean, what the Saints are going to have to do to gut their roster and just get it underneath the salary cap is going to be crazy. So you got to be in a position to like get that. You know what I mean? That's like the pop fly. You need to be there.
Absolutely. So based off that, what do you think the Niners should be targeting? Do you think, because I think, when I hear that, when I think about that, I feel like the Niners should really be targeting some interior offensive linemen.
Any offensive lineman, because the Saints have a loaded offensive line, whether it's the left tackle, Teron Armstead, the right tackle, Ryan Ramczyk, any of the interior guys, Andrews Pete, any of them. Yes, you want a Saints offensive lineman. I think what we're seeing is the Niners are underinvested on their offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, having one great left tackle doesn't give you a great offensive line.
No, it really doesn't, and especially when you're gonna take Mike McGlinchey in the first round and then just not take another offensive lineman because he's fine. Like no, I'm sorry. If he was so great and fine, you would be able to deal him for like a 5th round pick right now. I don't even think you could do that.
No, he has no value.
He has no value.
No.
So I think what the Niners really need to do is figure out what position groups they need to draft, because like we keep talking about, the value you get out of that position is crazy. And real quick.
I mean, with the Bucs too, the Bucs aren't as extreme, but they spend on the D line and they draft DBs. So the Niners should do the same thing. They need to draft a corner this year. If they come into this year and draft another D lineman, it's like, come on, man. Like, what? How do you not spend any resources on this position? Any.
It would be crazy to me. And the other thing, of course, when you look at the past 5 teams, no team has spent over like 13% on their quarterback. And if you look at all the other position groups, teams spend so much higher cap percentages on those other positions. So I think realistically, if you're the Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo obviously isn't the answer. It doesn't make any sense. He's injury prone. He's going to play half the games, and even when he is playing, he doesn't have the pop he does from pre-ACL Jimmy. It's just not the same. So he's not even close to worth that number.
Right. And one more thing before I let you go. The thing that's interesting about the Niners roster construction is people keep looking at it. It's like, it's the same team that went to the Super Bowl. It's not. It's a lot of the same players, but the salary structures are different. When the Niners went to the Super Bowl, Jimmy was expensive. D Ford was expensive.
Yeah.
That was it.
That was it.
Everyone else was mid-priced or a bargain. Kittle hadn't gotten paid yet. Bosa hadn't gotten paid.
No Warner.
Warner was cheap. Everyone was cheap. Now you're in this position where you got a super expensive quarterback. You're about to have a super expensive left tackle. D Ford's still on the books. Eric Armstead's super expensive. Who am I forgetting? Fred Warner's about to be super expensive. And now 5 guys are taking up like half your cap space. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And, just real quick before I head out, I think just based off that, and if I want to go super, fantasy with my trades, like Madden mode, if I'm the Niners, I'm looking at the Texans situation. If you want to go for Deshaun Watson, I think the way to go for it is to say to yourselves, they just lost J.J. Watt. I think one of your last callers was talking about them wanting defensive players. I think I agree with that. I think unless you're in love with the quarterback and Tua, I mean, his value is tanked. But I think unless you're in love with the quarterback and you're making that trade and you're the Texans, why would you go after a quarterback? So I think what the Niners should do is offer Fred Warner, because I think if we're looking into the future and we're projecting into the future, and like I was talking about with the way teams structure their salary, teams really don't spend higher than like 9% on their linebackers. They just don't spend that much money, and you can just draft guys every couple of years like the Niners have. I mean, just look at what the Niners have done in this recent regime. They drafted Fred Warner. They drafted Dre Greenlaw. Did they draft Al Shahir? I think they did.
Yes. Also, yes. I think Fred Warner's excellence is a little overstated. Look. He's very good, but he's not in the backfield a lot. That's not his game. All right. He's a good tackler, not a violent tackler. His value is in coverage mostly. And let's be clear, the 2 guys in the Niners back 7 who have the most difficult assignments, it's Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt. Those dudes are the ones in man-to-man coverage. Fred Warner's the guy who gets to play with eyes on the quarterback, be a rat defender, or like his assignments are way easier. So if you could trade him for someone who really thinks that he's the Peyton Manning of linebackers, I'm with you, man. He's not. He's not.
Well, and just think about the Texans in the position they're in. They're going to need that franchise type of player, that guy who's going to sell jerseys, that guy who's going to at least take some of the leverage off of that franchise of trading Deshaun Watson. So, and they lost J.J. Watt. So I think you can really structure a smart deal to where you say, okay, you think Fred Warner is worth about 2 first-round picks, which I don't, that seems pretty fair to me. I think if you say, okay, we'll trade you Fred Warner, and then whatever else we need to make up that draft compensation, even doing something smart like saying to yourselves like, okay, we'll trade you the 21 first for 12th overall. And I know this trade would probably happen post June 1st, but let's just say it's happening right now. I think if you offer them that 21 first, maybe even the 23rd first, and then some other picks, maybe that 22 second, some 3rd round comp, something like that, I think that would be the really, if you're the Niners, you're trying to get the most value out of it, you're trying to exploit your salary cap, that would be an awesome way to do it.
Also, I think trading Warner makes more sense than Bosa, because you have 2 more years of cheap Bosa.
Yes, you do. And you don't have any more years on that value. That is the most valuable asset in the NFL by far.
That's right. And so his value is still high, and it could be higher next year if he's healthy. Warner is, you don't get any more cheap Warner. He is due a payday, and it's going to be uncomfortably large. You thought you didn't want to spend $20 million on a defensive tackle pass rusher, DeForest Buckner. How about spending $20 million on a linebacker who doesn't rush the quarterback? Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. It's a very clever thing. Niner fans, think about it. Would you part with Warner to get Watson? He'd probably be easier to part with than Bosa.
Yeah.
Ben, strong as always. Strong as always.
See you next time, Grant.
All right, see you next time.